Hey friends, welcome back. Gabriel Kevin here. Welcome to my channel, Everything Gabriel, which means we have everything. Well, mostly everything. So, what are we doing today, friends? Today, even though we're in my recording studio, I wanted to say that we're going to talk about and show you another culinary art. Art? Anyway, it's an Italian thing, just like my tutorial for Philly cheesesteaks, which is Italian and, well, it's more Philly, but Italian spin on it. So today, we're going to do something that happens in the holidays, usually Christmas Eve, that if not most, but every Italian family at least knows how to do it, is called calamari. What? Calamari. Yes, commonly known in today's world, thank you, sir, as calamari. We don't call it calamari. When that came out in menus in restaurants, I'm like, what is that? Anyway, it's called calamari, even though it is squid. And we don't say squid, we say calamari. And some Italians actually say galamad, but we digress. So, this is a favorite of the holidays, and it's a secret recipe that passed down from generation to generation. My mother made it, and she taught me how to make it, so I make it. And it's very interesting because it comes from the olden times, and so you didn't have a lot of fancy stuff. And so this is very basic, but the taste is amazing. And this squid, stuffed squid, calamari. See, calamari is the way Italians would, couldn't speak English very well, so instead of calamari, the calamari, and then a D on the end of it. Who cares? I care. So this is very special, and we also are going to show how to make the fried tentacles, which, oh yes, so that can be either served prior to dinner as an appetizer, or it can be served during dinner, or it could be served anytime in your lifetime. So anyway, let's get on with it so I can stop babbling. We are now going to show you how to make authentic, real Italian homemade calamari and fried tentacles. Stay tuned. Here it is. Okay, friends, here we're going to make it. Italian stuffed calamari. And again, it's not calamari. So what we're going to need is tongs, a bread cutting knife, a small teaspoon, salt and pepper, virgin, extra virgin olive oil, a lot of garlic powder. Trust me, you're going to need that much. We're going to have a colander. We are going to have a big bowl. We're going to have other oil, canola oil, cooking oil, vegetable oil. And the big thing of the day to make the stuffing is just white bread. That's all they had back then, white bread. Okay, so let's get started on how do we make first the stuffed squid, then we'll get to the fried tentacles. And there are your ingredients. Now on the counter, in the stove, we have a mixing bowl for the stuffing. We have a plate with paper towels on it. We have toothpicks. Make sure they're out already so you don't have to be grabbing them with your dirty hands. And a plate. Ooh, a plate. We also have a frying pan with a lid. Non-stick would be best. And some place to put it, so if you're not making it that exact day of Christmas Eve, you're going to put it somewhere and put it in the refrigerator. All right, so now we have the bread out. Look at all that bread. And that's me. Don't look at me. So we take the bread, as I show, and we try to do 2 at a time, because it's going to take a while, and you cut the ends off. Very carefully. You don't want to leave any bit of the end, so you have to make sure you get it all. And you're going to do this, and you're going to do all that bread. And trust me, we're going to go through that whole big loaf, and probably most of, if not, that other loaf. So, and then you just keep doing this, and it takes a while. So this whole process is going to take a while, but look at that. So now all the end, that's all going to be trash, sorry. No. And then the rest is all the bread that is not the ends. That's going to be your stuffing. Ooh, how do you do this? Okay, there it is. And it doesn't look like a lot because the ends are off. So that's why you need like a lot of bread. Then you take that bread and you put it into that big bowl. And then what you're going to do is really interesting. It's really scientifically amazing. So just stuff it in there. I mean, just stuff it in, stuff the stuffing. This is the stuffing, yeah. And you're gonna get some more. And you're gonna put it in because this is all gonna reduce down to like really, yeah, small stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some more in there, and then the next step. And see, there's a little piece of that. See that? You got to get that out of there. It's going to be a tough little thing in there because all this stuff is going to get mushy. Now we're going to take some water. Now this is so amazing, isn't it? So we're going to get some water, and we're going to pour water onto it to make it all mushy. You know, you have white bread, you put water on it, it gets mushy. That's how they made it back in the day. You know, you get a box of stuffing. Okay, so then you take your hands and you put them in there. Don't have any rings on or anything. It's going to get on the rings because this stuff's going to get all gooey. And then you have to be careful. Water, little by little, because if you put too much water, you got to put more bread in. So you got to get it to a consistency that's kind of mushy, but not too wet, not too messed up, because we're going to put something else in there. See, that's not too bad. You know, just keep grinding it with your fingers and pulling it apart. You'll get little lumps in it and just keep, you know, massaging it with the glove. So anyway, there, that looks pretty good. You know, it's not too wet. You want to leave a little bit that's not too wet because we're going to add something else in on this that's going to really make it very interesting. Okay, so now that's done. Now you're going to have it all over your fingers. That's why you don't wear any rings, and you just try to get it off as best as you can. And when you get most of it off, you can just go to the sink and run water over your hands, and that will get rid of most of it, or put it to the sides of the bowl. I know. I'm actually making this. I made this on Christmas. This is actually Christmas, right before Christmas Eve. Then you get the extra virgin olive oil. This is going to be gooey. Okay, a little out of focus, but who cares? Okay, then you pour that in there, and you can be very careful not to put too much. So, how you doing? All right, guess what you're going to do? And you're going to put a little bit now. You're going to put a ton of garlic powder. Yeah, that's a look. It's all smoking up. A ton of garlic powder. Just lay it in there. All right, you're going to add some, and I use sea salt because I think it's better. Some salt, not too much because, you know, squid, it's going to be salty, but just follow the recipe you're seeing. Pepper! So it was garlic powder, salt, and pepper. Whoa, amazing. Nothing else. No Italian seasoning, nothing. Get those hands ready. Oh, and by the way, you should put a paper towel around your olive oil because you may need more, and your hands are going to be so gooey, it helps kind of like not get it all over the bottle. It's just a precaution. So now get your hands in there, and you're going to feel that oil. Ooh, you're going to feel all that beautiful garlic powder, and you're just going to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. Eee, sounds like Dracula. And you keep messing it around, and it's going to get sticky on your hands. But this is the best part. You're making stuffing. Hey, how you doing? Look at it all over my hands. What up? Okay, so you're not going to kind of peel it off. You know, when you take it off one finger, it goes on the other finger. I know I need a little more olive oil, so I'm going to put it in there. Because, you know, what's going to happen is as you make the squid, this is going to start drying out because there's water in it. So you just want to make sure the oil keeps it from totally drying out. It keeps the moisture in it. Plus, it gives that wonderful olive oil flavor. And he's going in again with the oil. Oh, no. Okay, cool. Excuse me. Getting excited. Yeah, this happened. This is 2022, the day before Christmas Eve that I'm making this. I felt I needed a little more water. So it's just a consistency that you have to try to find that makes it just so it's not dripping wet, but it's wet enough because you're going to have to use a little teaspoon and pick out this stuff and push it into the squid. It takes a lot of time to do it, but it's worth it. It's worth it. That's why we do it just once a year. I did it one time in the summer. It was kind of cool. And look at my fingers. With all that oil in there and everything in the water, it's like amazing. But you don't want to waste any of that. So you start sliding it onto the side of the bowl and just save as much as possible. Save the clock tower. What movie is that from? So then you wash your hands. Now you have this. That's your stuffing. Done. Isn't that cool? Okay, now we have some oil in the pan, but that's totally not enough because you have to fill it up, you know, an inch, because you want to almost submerge the squid so that it cooks all around. And you don't cook it that long. You only cook it for like 5 minutes. But we're not even there yet. Okay, so I put olive oil in there, and I'm gonna add to make it to fill it up the regular oil. You don't have to have it all olive oil. The flavor of the olive oil is going to be in there. So save some of your olive oil and put the regular oil in. Look, that's about almost at least an inch. And it's going to be used up a lot of it because if you're Italian, Italians, when you cook a meatballs and sausage in the oil, you always put some of the oil into the spaghetti gravy, and it's not sauce, it's gravy. Okay, hey, how you doing? Okay, have your tongs there, all set. Okay, because once this process starts, you're just going to keep doing it. No rush, but tis a bit of work. So then I start heating up the oil just to get it. You don't want to boil all over the place. Now you got your calamari, okay, your squid and the tentacles. And if you ever did this before, you know what it's like. But that's your that's your raw tentacles. Beautiful thing, and you get this fresh. We usually get it fresh, and then we freeze it, and it takes a while to defrost. So make sure you have enough time to defrost it without it going bad. And I'm going to leave the tentacles in there. So I'm going to start with each one of those tubes of the squid, and we get them clean. So my mother used to clean them, squirt the oil out and everything. Ugh. Okay, so each one has a little opening at the top. You get your stuffing, you put it on your spoon. Now, one thing I'm not showing here is you can form the stuffing so that it's like low and you can just get right into it. And then you put it in and you hold your hand and you pull the spoon out, and then the stuffing stays in the squid. Key to this, write this down, memorize it. Only fill them up halfway. I used to do a little bit more halfway, but my mother used to say, "Hey, don't fill it up all the way. Fill it up only halfway." You hold the top like that, and you pull the spoon out. Then you can look at it and you can see, did I fill it up halfway? Why? Because squid shrinks. If you fill that up all the way and you have a 50,000 squid in the oil, all that bread's going to pop out all over the place. Some of it's going to pop out. You want it to pop out. So I fill it up about halfway, maybe a teeny bit more, but you want to have, and I'll show you, you want to have, see, that much, not have stuffing in it, and that much stuffing. It's a little more than half. Then you take a toothpick, push it through the back as high up as you can to get the whole thing, push it through the back, fold it, push it through, make sure it goes evenly, and there it is. You just stuffed a squid, which is not a squid, it's a calamari. That's the beginning of calamari. Now you take that and you put it down. That was tough. Put it down. Now you're going to do every one of these. And that's what happens. You get that many. Now that's just the beginning. Ended up with 65 of these. And they all went. All right, there it is. Beautiful thing. That's ready for the oil. Some are big, some are small. That's okay. It's kind of cool. The kiddies like the small ones. The adults like the big ones. And now we are going to... Now you make a batch like that. And then you're going to fry them up. Because you don't want them all hanging there. Because you have to start frying them up. And you can see the green of the olive oil. It's a beautiful thing. And I started turning up the heat because I didn't want to put these in with that heat being up too high, because then it's going to start splattering all over the place, and this is not cool. So basically, you can see it's starting to cook. These things are going to shrink. They're going to become almost half their size, and they're going to they're going to bubble up like a blowfish, which is cool because what's happening to squid is shrinking, and it's pushing all of that nice, beautiful stuffing in there, and it's just going to get a really nice flavor. And one of the things that when I say to fill it up a little bit more than halfway is because you want some of that bread to actually squirt out, because that's going to go in the gravy too. That burnt bread, trust me, it breaks up in the gravy and everything. So now these guys are going to cook, and one side first. Non-stick is good. And if you notice, that oil is pretty clear. But after we get to the second batch and stuff like that, you're going to see there's bread in there all over the place. And you'll be seeing me put that bread into that container, which later we're going to show goes into the gravy. I usually cover it. This is going to be for about 5 minutes. So you got about 2.5 minutes one side, cover it. I put the container on the side there because I knew they're going to be ready. 2.5 minutes, one side covered. Take the thing off, turn them. If you have a tongue that could actually grab that toothpick, it makes it easier to turn. Turn them once. If you overcook them, they're going to be tough. Okay, just turn every one of them. Just make sure that it doesn't splatter. You don't want it to be ridiculously hot, or you're going to need a screen on top. Just enough. It's going to pop. But you can see, look, some of the bread's coming out because they are they're congealing. They're coming together beautifully. Yeah, oh yeah, how you doing? Okay, so now I flip them once and cover it again. Yeah, wait about 5 minutes. Honestly, you'll get a little brown on them from. You can start seeing that brownness on a couple of them. And you can flip them again, whatever, but just don't go more than like 5 minutes. When you start seeing that little brown, that means you're getting a little burnt from the oil. And then they're done, 5 minutes. Because what's going to happen is you're going to cook this in the gravy for like 4 hours on Christmas Eve. So these are cooked already. They can be eaten, but you don't want to overcook them, and you take them out and be careful when you take them out. That's what happens. They slippery little devils. And look at the bread. See that stuff in there? That's bread. that's squirted out. That stuff is going in that container too. Oil and the bread. Look at that. I'm picking it up. That is bread that's squirted out. Put that in the container. Do not throw it out. It makes the gravy real thick and adds that extra flavor. Because this is spaghetti gravy that you have never tasted before in your life. This is the only kind that has the flavor of the calamari. And it's an amazing flavor. And you have to let that, we're going to show, you have to let that gravy cook 4 hours, 5 hours, because then the calamari, the stuffing, the oil, the whole calamari all gets into the gravy, and the gravy changes its flavor. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, so our first batch, you see the bread's in there. To kind of burn a little bit. There's a little bit of oil. We will be putting more oil in there because we really want a lot of oil. This is the whole batch. That's 65 of those things. And that's all that brown stuff is all the burnt bread. And underneath there is a layer of oil, of the oil from the pan. Okay, if you know anything about Italians, you always put the oil, whenever you cook something and you're going to put it in the gravy, you always put the oil in too. My mother used to put so much oil in the gravy, it would have a film of oil like this thick on the top. Okay, so, and for calamari, you want to do that. We'll see it later. Now, what are we doing? Oh, no, we're drinking beer. No, what we're going to do is we're going to make the fried tentacles. Now, the squid's done. It's in the refrigerator. Bye-bye. Okay, that's for tomorrow, because this is the day before. Do this and make sure it doesn't get too foamy. 1 can of beer is good enough, because for the amount of tentacles we have, it's going to be good. I had some of this stuff left over that was for making like fish and chips, so it's basically flour, but it was for that. So I'm using this because I had some of it left over. You'll see as we make this, I'm going to add some more regular flour in it. But if you ever made beer batter, that's all this is. It's just beer batter, so it's beer and flour, and you stir it around, and it's going to foam up because of the beer. But we can take care of that problem later. And obviously it's going to be wet. You don't want to overdo it, then you're going to have to go get another beer. So this again, just like doing the stuffing. You want to make sure that you do this slowly. Take your time. Do it lovingly. Put your love into it. Yeah, how you doing? It's so worth it, believe me. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And go like, oh, what the heck, man? That's not getting thick enough. And then it starts getting thicker and thicker. And I think in the end, see, do it slowly because you don't want to have to do another beer. Then you're just going to waste a lot of it. And you have to push it down so it all gets into the beer. And if you don't know this, the beer batter is very thick and very fluffy, thick kind of batter. It's very crunchy. So I'm adding some more flour because I ran out of the other stuff. You could have just used regular flour the whole time. And there's another ingredient you're going to put in here that makes it very interesting. So let's just finish this. And let's see, it's getting thick. There it is. It's going to start looking like dough, or a batter, or a dough, or dough of deer. Oh, I just burped. Oh, excuse moi. I'm getting hungry. There it is. Oh, look at it. Now that's turning into a batter. And you keep working it and working it and working it and push the spoon in and around and up and down and over the hills to Grandma's house we go. And now we're going to put garlic powder in it. Yeah, do it. Do it. Garlic's in everything. Yeah, look how much. Yeah. Don't be scared. Garlic will not hurt you. We need to put in the stuffing for the squid. I do some sea salt because you always put. My mother always says salt and pepper and garlic powder. Put a little sea salt on there, and of course the black pepper. And I don't do the big. This is very fine ground black pepper because you don't want to see those big chunks, which you use on other kind of recipes. And then you stir that in. And it's going to disappear, but it's going to have that flavor in the coating of the tentacles, and it's going to have that great when you bite into it. It's going to have that beautiful flavor of the background garlic and the salt and pepper, and there it is. Now Keep stirring around, stirring around. And you're going to put this in the refrigerator, and you want to do this kind of overnight. Okay, well, now, of course, I feel there needs to be more flour in this, so let's do that. You don't want to make it too thick. You don't want to make it too thin. If it's too thin, it's not going to stick to it. Okay, so I think that's good. So now you get tinfoil. You put tinfoil over it. You close it up because you really want to do this the day before, at least this part, because the beer has all that bubbly stuff in it, the carbonation, and you want to let that breathe out, that carbonation. Not a lot, but a little bit. And then so you poke a couple holes in this thing. That lets it breathe. And that goes in the refrigerator overnight. And done. Now, came out the next day when I'm going to make the tentacles. So I think this was the day before. Yeah, I forget the timing. Anyway, okay, so now the oil. Oh, I made that batter the day before. The oil is the oil from the calamari that we just cooked. Okay? And that is flour. I think I made the batter on the morning. I forget. Whatever. Yeah, you want to leave it in the refrigerator for a while. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the tentacles. We're going to take them, and they're gooey, and just pick them up. Try to get a big bunch of them like that. Put them in the flour. And this is like your normal way of breading stuff, like onion rings and stuff. And I just keep putting them in there. And just, because we really be careful. You have to make sure you completely coat that because they're slimy. And if you don't coat them completely and you move it around in the flour, that batter is going to slip right off them. And that guy was a double guy, so I kind of split them up. So you definitely want to make sure that they're completely covered in the flour, and the tongs are going to get flour on them, everything from the goo of those tentacles. And he's like, I'll not read these tentacles. See, you got that one there has to they all have to be completely coated. Oh, you would love it. It's amazing. Then you take it, put it in your batter. Again, make sure they're completely covered in the batter. Then let it drip off, and you move it around. Don't leave any part that's not covered. Drip it off, and remember that gravy, that oil is the oil from the calamari that was cooked earlier. All flavor goes together, and then you just keep doing this, and you just keep picking it up, and you put it in there, and start frying them up, and they're going to fry up just like onion rings will fry up. But you try to get as much batter off because there's a lot of batter that gets gooey inside the tentacles and everything. So you just want to be able to just let that drip off. And then you start cooking them, and look how they expand. And so they're kind of like one tentacle or a couple tentacles. And then after, just your normal frying. See, that one did have, could have used a little more batter on it, but that's okay if some of the tentacles are hanging out. It looks kind of cool. And just keep, you do this as you would normally do any other type of fried food, like chicken cutlets or whatever. You want to make sure that they get fully cooked and that the tentacles get cooked too, because you might make sure those tentacles are cooked. And then you put a lid on it, and then there you go. Looking good, looking really good. Put them on the paper towel, and take them out. Be careful that it doesn't splatter all over you or burn you. And there you go. You're making your fried tentacles, which again can be part of an appetizer before the dinner or during the dinner. And there they are. So then you just go back to the process again. No, beautiful. You have an idea how good that tastes. Because remember, garlic is in it. And there's the whole batch of them. That's all the fried tentacles. Is that a beautiful thing or what? Okay, so now the squid is cooked and in the refrigerator. The tentacles are cooked. They're going to go in the refrigerator too. You just want to make sure that you put them in something very airtight so they don't get too soggy. Okay, Christmas Eve. Here we go. We're making the gravy. Crushed tomatoes. Crushed tomato sauce. Now we don't actually break up the tomatoes or anything when we do that. And then you take half a can of the crushed tomato sauce and you stir it in there so you get all the nice good stuff out of it. And you pour that in. There you go. And you stir that around. And then, this is normal stuff, right? You put as much, if you need another can, go ahead, do it. Depends how much pasta you're going to make. Good old basil. We usually use fresh basil, but it's right there. We didn't have it, but that is fresh basil in a container. And then garlic powder. Of course, garlic powder. Of course, there's always a lot of garlic powder. I always put more in later anyway. And stir that around. Now we haven't put any of the galamad, that's what my aunt used to call it, calamad, my parents used to call it, in that gravy yet. Because what we're going to do is that has to cook. We don't want to put them in right away. Oh, by the way, Parmesan cheese. Put that in there too. We want to cook this with some of the oil and some of the bread out of the calamari, not the calamari right away, for about 2 hours. Because if you put the calamari too early, they might start breaking up. Okay? And of course, putting more garlic powder in. Okay, you got all that. Make sure you put that much Parmesan cheese in there. Stir that around. Now, any kind of spaghetti gravy, any kind of Italian, is going to cook 4 to 5 hours, even on a Sunday, if it's regular. Now we get the calamari. Okay, there it is. Look at all the oil on the bottom. All that bread. That's just bread laying on top. So we want to cook that gravy for 2 hours with no calamari in it, but we want some of that bread and we want some of that oil. Because if you don't, you're not going to get it starts getting the flavor of the calamari by putting that oil in there. I know that looks disgusting, but do it anyway. And you put some of the bread in there, but not the calamari, because now as it cooks for 2 hours, it's going to get that flavor and it's going to start. The only word I can use is, see, in the bread. It's going to transform. The flavor is going to completely transform. If you never taste this before, you're going to be, that's a lot of oil, but do it. My mother, I told you, now you stir that around, and you see it's cooked in there, and that the little black stuff is the bread breaking up, and you always notice that there has to be a little ring of oil on the outside. Then you know you did it right. That will cook uncovered for 2 hours. If it gets too thick, add a little water. And then after 2 hours, what we're going to do is, while it's cooking, is put the calamari in, which is going to cook for another 2 hours or more. Could be 3 more hours, which would be sum of 2 and 2 and 2 and 3. It's 4 hours or 5 hours. If you don't do it at least 4 hours, it ain't gonna be right. But it was already cooking with the oil, so it always has the flavor. You can smell it. It changes. I can't explain it. Look at all of that beautiful oil and bread. You know where that's going? It's going in the thing. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So all that calamari goes in, and that's pretty much it. It's going to cook for another 2 hours, 5 hours, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And you make your pasta, you put the gravy on it, you put the calamari on the side like you would put meatballs, and there it is. Look at that. Look at that gravy. It's thick. It has all kinds of gorgeous stuff in there. And then you would just pick up the calamari and eat it just right off with the toothpick in your hand, and eat it as you make your spaghetti. So, hope it was great. Have a great day. Take care. Bye. Enjoy.